This is Embrace Your Inner Boldness, a podcast about remembering who you were before the world told you who to be. I'm Melissa Henning-Frank, coach, guide, and founder of Becoming Bold. I help you strip away the conditioning, reclaim your voice, and rise into the power that's always been yours. Let's get right to it. Hey, thanks for tuning in. I think we've all worked for leaders who left a mark, but not always for the right reasons. Some led through their own fear, some led through their own ego, and a few through deep authenticity and heart. And the difference between leadership that fades and leadership that lasts is boldness, the kind that's rooted in self-awareness, values, and trust. And part of that boldness is truly understanding yourself, your energy, your decision-making, your way of communicating. That's where the frameworks like the MBTI, the Myers-Briggs Type Indicator, come in. When you understand your type and the natural preferences of the people on your team, you can flex your style to meet them where they are without losing who you are. I'm passionate about the MBTI because one of my personal values is to see the human behind the behavior. Every reaction has roots and every pattern has a story. And the MBTI helps me live that out. It reminds me that there's no right or wrong type, it's just different ways of being. So when I work with teams, I can clearly see how understanding personality differences instantly softens tension. People stop labeling each other as difficult or disengaged, and they start realizing, oh, they're just wired differently. And that shift from judgment to curiosity is where trust begins. So today we're diving into bold leadership strategies through the lens of MBTI and emotional intelligence. So you can create real impact, you can build trust, and you can lead from your own truth. Let's get into it. Bold leadership isn't about being the loudest or the toughest. It's about leading with integrity and awareness. And it's saying things like, I know my natural tendencies and I'm willing to stretch when my team needs something different. That's the magic of type. So let's get into it. If you are an extrovert or an E, you probably process your ideas out loud, which is great for brainstorming, but your introverted or I team members might need the time to reflect before responding. So boldness here isn't talking more and taking up that airspace. It's about creating space for everyone's voice to be heard. Let's talk about how you can lead with radical self-awareness. This is where every bold leader starts. So when you know your preferences shape your behavior, you can lead with more empathy and intention. So thinking leaders, or the T, might lean on logic and systems, which is really great for clarity, but sometimes they overlook the emotional impact on their people. And then feeling leaders, or the F, naturally are going to prioritize people and harmony, but they might avoid tough feedback. So the boldness here is bridging both of those, and it's making decisions that are both right and kind. So try this at your next meeting. Share something that you recently learned about yourself. It's important to model vulnerability because that is the fastest path to team trust. And trust is the number one thing that's going to make your team great. Let's talk about another strategy about decision making and how you can anchor every decision in core values. Values are your inner compass. So when things get chaotic, they help steer you from integrity, not steering you from impulse. And if you're a judging type, or the J, you likely crave structure and closure, and you want the plan and the next step. If you're a perceiving, or P type, you thrive on flexibility and adapting as you go. And again, neither of these is better than the other because both are truly needed. So when you're making a decision, make sure you're blending the best of both. You want to keep a clear direction, but you also want to hold space for evolving insight. So a question that you can ask yourself is, does this decision align with who we say we are? Let's talk about another strategy on how to replace control with clarity. So control often shows up when we're stressed. And it's actually our personality's way of protecting us. But clarity is what actually creates trust. So if you're an intuitive leader or N, you probably love vision and possibility, but your sensing teammates might need concrete details and timelines in order to feel safe, seen, and secure. So practice flexing. You want to bring your big ideas down to earth and paint the picture and outline the steps. That's how you move from chaos to clarity. Next, let's talk about how to communicate with courage and compassion. And this is where bold leaders are going to either shine or really stumble. So your MBTI type shapes how you deliver and receive feedback. So your thinking types, make sure you're mindful of your tone. Directness is going to build efficiency, but empathy builds safety. And then the feeling types, don't soften truth so much that it loses impact. Truth can actually coexist with kindness. So start using language like, here's what I'm noticing and here's why it matters. That one sentence is going to build bridges between courage and care. Let's talk about how to build trust through transparency. Transparency builds the kind of trust that no pep talk ever could. If you're an introverted leader, you might process decisions privately and forget to communicate what's happening. So to your extroverted team members, that silence feels like disconnection. So try narrating your thought process out loud. Say things like, here's what I'm considering and here's what I still need to decide. It's a small shift that can really transform how your team experiences you as their leader. Let's talk about how to model work-life integration, not perfection. So perfection is not inspiring, but presence really does inspire. So if you have the judging as your type, and I should remind you that judging doesn't mean that you're a judgy person. It's more that you rule your life like a judge would. It's mainly either this or that. It's going from point A to point B. So if that's your type, then that means structure is really your safety net. But for your team, you might need to start considering being a little more spontaneous and a little more flexible. And if you're a perceiving type or the P, then you know that flexibility is what fuels you. But the problem is your judging types are really not going to be comfortable with that. So committing to some kind of structure can really be an act of leadership in those cases. Both leaders show that self-care isn't a reward. It's really a responsibility. Let's talk about how to cultivate collective boldness. It can really be a ripple effect when you encourage your team to own their strengths and stretch their edges and really get out of their comfort zone. So ask your introverts for written input before meetings so that their ideas shine, because on the spot, they might not be the ones that are talking out loud. They're processing and thinking. And then let your extroverts energize discussions, but make sure that their talking is balanced so that there's more time for those introverts to get some words in edgewise. And then really honor your sensing types for their ability to ground ideas in reality, and honor your intuitive types for seeing the possibilities. When you make sure that you're intentionally honoring all of the types, you're going to build a culture where everyone's version of boldness gets a seat at the table. Let's talk about how you leave your mark as a leader and how you can design for legacy and not necessarily popularity. Legacy doesn't come from being liked, it comes from being aligned. So every single type leaves a different mark. So if you have TJ in your 4-letter type, your legacy might be that you build systems that last. If you have an FP in your 4-letter type, then you're probably creating cultures of compassion. People with NF in their type probably are inspiring vision and meaning. And then STs have the natural ability to make sure that stability and excellence are happening in the organization. So no matter your type, your leadership matters. And today, I encourage you to make one small, values-aligned decision that strengthens your culture. That's how you're going to build legacy. Being a bold leader means you have to be willing to consistently evolve. And I don't mean that to say that you need to be changing who you are, but what I mean is you need to be expanding who you can be. When you understand yourself, you're going to lead others better. So I'll leave you with this. What would it look like to lead boldly through the lens of your type starting today? If this episode spoke to you, share it with another leader who's ready to bring more self-awareness, courage, and connection into their leadership. And remember, boldness isn't something that you earn, it's built in. So until next time, please be kind to your mind. That's it for today's episode of Embrace Your Inner Boldness. If this stirred something in you, don't let it fade. Screenshot this episode, tag me at Becoming Bold LLC, and share it with someone else who's ready to rise. And hey, if you haven't already, take a second to subscribe, rate, and review the show. That's how we spread the boldness and keep this movement growing. Whatever came up for you today, feel the fear and do it anyway. You don't need to wait for perfect timing or permission. You are powerful. You are ready. And remember, the only limit to your boldness is the one you set for yourself. Until next time, stay bold, stay curious, and keep becoming you.